Look at this thing. This thing is basically 90 degrees. It is so upright. It is a magnet for rock. So this side is always lower. If you look at the cluster here, you will see we are leaning towards the driver's side.
Automakers don't just create vehicles, they create promises. Each SUV that rolls off the production line represents years of research, billions of dollars in investment, and countless hours of design and engineering. Yet, not every vehicle earns the right to stay. Some are abruptly canceled, vanishing from the market overnight, leaving behind frustrated owners, confused fans, and disappointed dealerships. What's even more surprising is how sudden these cancellations can be. A vehicle might be advertised heavily one year, only to be quietly discontinued the next without explanation. While buyers often assume low sales are the only reason, the truth runs deeper. Sometimes it's about shifting market priorities, government regulations, brand strategy, or unforeseen financial pressures. Today, we'll explore 15 SUVs that were suddenly canceled, models that, for one reason or another, could not continue despite having potential. Their stories reveal not just business decisions, but the unpredictable reality of the automotive world. Number 15. Ford Flex. The Ford Flex was the kind of car that made people do double takes on the road. Its long, flat roofline and unapologetically squared-off sides gave it the stance of a rolling rectangle. Inside, though, it was anything but plain. The Flex offered 3 roomy rows, plenty of cargo space, and a smooth ride that made long trips surprisingly pleasant. Families who wanted minivan practicality without actually buying a minivan found the Flex irresistible. Yet, while some drivers saw charm in its distinctiveness, others simply scratched their heads. The mainstream crowd was leaning toward sleek crossovers, and the Flex never quite matched their tastes. After an initial burst of enthusiasm, sales began to tumble. By 2019, Ford quietly decided it was time to shut down production. The Flex's departure also marked Ford's bigger strategy shift, ditching experimental wagons and quirky designs in favor of trucks and SUVs with mass appeal. Still, the Flex left behind a small but fiercely loyal group of fans who appreciated its uniqueness. For them, it wasn't just a car, it was a comfortable cruiser with personality. Today, spotting one on the road feels almost like an inside joke. Those who know, know. Number 14. Chevrolet Trailblazer, first generation. Back in the early 2000s, the Chevrolet Trailblazer was one of the hottest tickets in the SUV game. Built on a body-on-frame platform, it delivered that classic rugged feel drivers craved. With seating for the family, solid towing capacity, and the kind of presence that looked at home in suburban driveways, it checked a lot of boxes. For a while, sales soared. But the timing wasn't on its side. Gas prices started climbing, and suddenly filling up the tank felt more like a financial gamble than a routine chore. By 2008, the financial crisis struck, and big SUVs quickly shifted from must-have to too expensive. Families began seeking smaller, more fuel-efficient options, and the once glowing Trailblazer became a symbol of excess. General Motors, facing its own crisis, filed for bankruptcy in 2009. As part of the restructuring, the Trailblazer was cut. Just like that, a name that had become familiar across American roads disappeared. Years later, Chevrolet decided to bring the Trailblazer name back, but in a completely different package. Instead of a burly SUV, the new version emerged as a compact crossover, tuned for efficiency and modern tastes. For those who remember the original, it was a jarring transformation. The first-generation Trailblazer, though, still holds a nostalgic place in the memories of those who drove it through an era when bigger really did feel better. Number 13. Dodge Durango Hybrid. In 2009, Dodge rolled out something unexpected: a hybrid version of the Durango. On paper, it seemed like a great idea. Combine a big, capable SUV with fuel-saving technology. In reality, the launch couldn't have come at a worse time. The economy was tanking, and people were cutting back on spending. Asking shoppers to pay extra for a hybrid SUV that didn't look or feel much different from the regular model was a tough sell. The Durango Hybrid didn't exactly announce its uniqueness. Parked side by side with the gas-powered version, only a few subtle badges gave away its hybrid identity. For buyers, that made the price difference even harder to justify. Why spend thousands more for something that didn't deliver a dramatic change in experience? Chrysler, already struggling during the financial crisis, couldn't afford to nurture a slow seller. Within months of its debut, the Durango Hybrid was quietly discontinued. It became one of those blink-and-you-miss-it vehicles, so rare that even car enthusiasts sometimes forget it existed. The lesson it left behind was clear: timing is everything. Automakers can rush to meet a trend, but if consumers aren't ready, or if the market is in turmoil, good ideas can vanish overnight. Today, hybrids and plug-in SUVs are common, but the Durango Hybrid remains a footnote in history, remembered as a bold step that stumbled before the world was ready to take it seriously. Number 12. Toyota FJ Cruiser. When the Toyota FJ Cruiser hit the streets, it looked like nothing else around. Its chunky body, bold colors, and retro cues paid tribute to the legendary FJ40 Land Cruiser. Adventurers and weekend trail seekers embraced it instantly. With solid off-road chops, strong reliability, and an interior that could take a beating, it felt built for people who didn't mind getting a little dirt on the tires. Still, not everyone was smitten. Its wide pillars limited visibility, its rear doors were oddly hinged, and daily driving wasn't exactly its strongest suit. While enthusiasts raved about its ruggedness, mainstream buyers leaned toward more practical, comfort-first SUVs. After a strong debut, sales began to taper off around 2008. By 2014, Toyota officially pulled it from most markets, though a few regions kept it alive a bit longer. Fans were left puzzled, especially since, years later, demand for retro-styled off-roaders exploded. The FJ Cruiser seemed almost ahead of its time, disappearing right before the market shifted in its favor. Today, used FJ Cruisers have cult status, commanding surprising resale values. Enthusiasts continue to celebrate its legacy, seeing it as the one that got away too soon. For Toyota, it was a bold experiment that proved rugged design could still spark excitement, even if the timing wasn't quite right. The FJ Cruiser didn't just vanish, it left behind a legend that refuses to fade quietly into history. Number 11. Nissan Juke. The Nissan Juke arrived in 2010 with a look that instantly divided opinions. Its round headlights perched above the bumper, paired with angular lines, gave it a face people either loved or couldn't quite figure out. But one thing was clear: it grabbed attention. The Juke wasn't trying to blend in, and that alone earned it a loyal fan base. Beyond appearances, the Juke packed plenty of personality. It offered turbocharged engines, all-wheel drive options, and handling that felt fun in a segment known mostly for practical commuters. For urban drivers who wanted something quirky and energetic, The Juke was a refreshing alternative. Still, uniqueness only goes so far. By 2017, Nissan realized American buyers wanted more space, better visibility, and designs that leaned conventional. Enter the Nissan Kicks, lighter on flair, heavier on practicality. The Juke quietly disappeared from U.S. showrooms, leaving fans disappointed, but not entirely surprised. Elsewhere in the world, the Juke survived, evolving into a sleeker second generation. But in the U.S., its departure left a gap in the small crossover landscape. To this day, spotting a Juke can spark conversation, because love it or hate it, you notice it. The Juke's legacy is simple. It proved that a car doesn't need mass approval to make a mark. Even though its time in America was short, its boldness ensured it wouldn't be forgotten. It was proof that sometimes standing out is its own reward, even if it costs you sales. Number 10. Pontiac Aztek. The Pontiac Aztek holds a unique place in automotive history, though not always for flattering reasons. Its design, with sharp angles and clashing proportions, earned it a reputation as one of the most awkward-looking vehicles ever built. Critics had a field day, and buyers were hesitant. Yet, beneath the polarizing exterior, the Aztek hid some surprisingly clever ideas. Pontiac equipped it with features that catered to adventure seekers. There was a built-in cooler in the center console, optional camping gear, and even a tent attachment that transformed it into a mini camper. For families who enjoyed weekend getaways, this was a rare level of practicality. Unfortunately, style sells more than substance, and the Aztek simply couldn't win over mainstream buyers. Sales were consistently disappointing, and despite a small cult following, General Motors eventually pulled the plug. By 2010, the Pontiac brand itself was discontinued, sealing the Aztek's fate. Ironically, its image was later revived thanks to its prominent role in a popular TV show, where it became almost endearing. In hindsight, the Aztek was ahead of its time. Modern SUVs now flaunt lifestyle accessories and camping add-ons that mirror what Pontiac was trying to achieve 2 decades ago. The execution may have been clumsy, but the concept was forward-thinking. Today, the Aztek is remembered less for what it failed to sell, and more for the strange charm it unexpectedly developed over time. Number 9. Mercury Mountaineer. The Mercury Mountaineer often felt like the SUV no one really asked for. Essentially a rebadged Ford Explorer, it came with slightly different styling cues and a more upscale badge. While Mercury pitched it as a premium option, buyers had a hard time justifying why they should spend more for something nearly identical to its Ford sibling. Launched in the late 1990s, the Mountaineer managed to carve out a modest fan base. It offered the comfort of a family hauler and the ruggedness of an SUV during the height of America's SUV craze. However, as the 2000s wore on, Mercury as a brand began to lose its identity. Positioned awkwardly between Ford and Lincoln, it failed to stand out. By 2010, Ford decided it was time to phase out Mercury altogether. The announcement was swift, and overnight, every Mercury model, including the Mountaineer, was gone. Dealers were left with unsold stock, and loyal buyers had to look elsewhere, often reluctantly moving to Ford or Lincoln showrooms. The Mountaineer's end highlighted the risks of badge engineering when it's done without a clear purpose. While it wasn't a bad SUV by any measure, it never had a distinct personality. Its cancellation wasn't about poor performance, but about corporate streamlining. For longtime Mercury drivers, though, It marked the end of a brand that had been part of American roads for decades. The Mountaineer simply became a casualty of a bigger decision. Number 8. Jeep Commander. When Jeep introduced the Commander in 2006, it looked like the brand was aiming to expand its family appeal. With 3 rows of seating, it promised more space than the Grand Cherokee, while still maintaining Jeep's off-road credibility. On paper, it seemed like the perfect blend of utility and adventure. In practice, things didn't go as planned. The 3rd row, which was the Commander's main selling point, turned out to be cramped and uncomfortable for adults. Fuel economy was poor, which made sense given its boxy shape and heavy weight, but it didn't sit well with buyers as gas prices climbed. On top of that, its styling felt more bulky than bold, leaving many customers unimpressed. Sales quickly lagged behind expectations, and by 2010, Jeep decided to discontinue the model. The announcement was quiet, and dealerships were left clearing out the last units without much fanfare. The Commander faded from the U.S. market almost as suddenly as it appeared. Interestingly, Jeep later reused the Commander name in overseas markets, where it lived on in a different form. But in the U.S., the original model remains a short-lived experiment. Its story reflects how even strong brands can misstep when they expand too quickly. The Commander wasn't a disaster. It just didn't deliver on what people wanted most from a 3-row Jeep. Number 7. Mazda CX-7. When Mazda launched the CX-7 in 2006, it stood out in the SUV segment. Sleek and sporty, it carried Mazda's zoom personality into a vehicle that was larger than a compact, but smaller than a full mid-size SUV. With its turbocharged engine, sharp handling, and stylish design, the CX-7 felt like an SUV built for people who didn't want to give up driving excitement. But beneath the good looks, there were problems. The turbo engine, while powerful, was thirsty and often required premium fuel. Reliability issues crept up over time, and maintenance costs made ownership less appealing. Families looking for practicality also found the CX-7 awkwardly sized, not as spacious as bigger SUVs, but not as easy to maneuver as smaller ones. By 2012, Mazda introduced the CX-5, a more balanced, efficient, and practical crossover. With the CX-5 gaining traction, the CX-7 suddenly felt redundant. Mazda quietly discontinued it, leaving fans of the sportier option surprised, but with little room to argue. Today, the CX-7 is remembered as a stylish misfit, fun to drive, but caught between segments. It didn't fail because it was bad, but because Mazda's lineup moved forward without it. In a way, the CX-7 helped pave the way for Mazda's current reputation for crossovers that mix style and substance. Its time was short, but its role in Mazda's evolution was bigger than sales numbers ever showed. Number 6. Lincoln MKT. The Lincoln MKT was supposed to redefine Lincoln's image with a bold design and upscale features. Instead, it became one of the brand's most polarizing vehicles. Its long, swooping lines and unusual grille divided opinion instantly. Some appreciated the attempt at uniqueness, while others saw it as awkward compared to Lincoln's more traditional luxury SUVs. Inside, the MKT delivered what Lincoln promised: comfort, technology, and refinement. It even carved out a niche in the livery market, becoming a popular choice for airport shuttles and limousines thanks to its roomy second row and smooth ride. For commercial operators, it was a practical workhorse. Still, private buyers never fully warmed to it. Pricing overlapped with other Lincoln models like the MKX, leaving shoppers with little incentive to choose the MKT. As the luxury SUV market grew more competitive, Lincoln's experiment struggled to justify its place. By 2019, Lincoln quietly ended production. There was no major farewell tour, no commemorative edition, just an overnight disappearance. The decision reflected Lincoln's shift toward more modern, universally appealing SUVs like the Aviator. The MKT's story shows that in the luxury world, design isn't just about standing out. It's about connecting with buyers emotionally. Without that connection, even a well-equipped and capable vehicle can fade quickly. Today, the MKT is remembered less for its luxury and more for its role as a livery staple, living on in black car fleets long after disappearing from showrooms. Number 5. Saturn Vue. The Saturn Vue debuted in 2002, bringing something fresh to the growing compact SUV market. With sharp styling, clever features, and even a hybrid option later in its life, the Vue quickly became one of Saturn's most competitive offerings. It was affordable, practical, and versatile, qualities that fit well with Saturn's reputation for customer-friendly vehicles. At one point, GM even developed a plug-in hybrid concept for the Vue, which could have made it a pioneer in green technology. Unfortunately, circumstances outside of the vehicle's control sealed its fate. When General Motors went through bankruptcy restructuring in 2009, Saturn was one of the brands chosen for elimination. By 2010, Saturn disappeared completely, and the Vue vanished along with it. Unlike some discontinued models that get successors under different names, the Vue had no direct replacement within GM's lineup at the time. Owners suddenly found themselves with a vehicle that was still capable, but tied to a brand that no longer existed. The abrupt cancellation frustrated loyal customers, especially since the Vue still had market potential. Many believed Saturn's demise was more about corporate consolidation than product quality, and the Vue became a casualty of decisions made far above its pay grade. Today, the Vue is remembered as one of the strongest vehicles Saturn ever built. Its story is a reminder that even well-liked cars can disappear overnight when larger forces reshape the industry. The Vue didn't fail, its brand did. Number 4. Infiniti QX30. The Infiniti QX30 entered the US market in 2016 with ambitious goals. Built in partnership with Mercedes-Benz, it shared its underpinnings with the Mercedes GLA, aiming to blend European sophistication with Infiniti's own luxury identity. On paper, it looked like the perfect recipe for attracting younger buyers to the brand. In reality, the QX30 never found its footing. Styling was distinctive, but buyers felt it didn't quite match Infiniti's larger design language. Inside, the cabin leaned heavily on Mercedes components, which sometimes made the vehicle feel less like an Infiniti and more like a rebadge. For shoppers expecting something uniquely premium, the mix felt disjointed. Performance was respectable, with responsive handling and a turbocharged engine, but competition in the small luxury crossover segment was fierce. Rivals like BMW and Audi had stronger reputations, and Infiniti's offerings struggled to stand out. Sales lagged from the start, never reaching the volumes Infiniti hoped for. By 2019, Infiniti had pulled the plug on the QX30 in the US. The decision was swift, reflecting the brand's shift in focus and the risks of partnerships that don't fully resonate with buyers. The QX30's short life is a case study in brand identity. A vehicle can be well-built and stylish, but if it doesn't clearly fit within a lineup, or connect with its intended audience, it can fade quickly. For Infiniti, the QX30 was less a breakthrough and more a brief detour on the road to finding its footing in the luxury crossover space. Number 3. Volkswagen Touareg, U.S. market. The Volkswagen Touareg launched in the U.S. as a showcase of VW's engineering capabilities. With available V8 and even V10 diesel engines, it had serious performance credentials. It was luxurious, well-built, and capable of handling both highways and rugged trails. Globally, the Touareg built a reputation as a premium SUV that could hold its own against established rivals. In the US, though, the picture was different. Buyers appreciated the engineering, but the price tag placed it dangerously close to luxury brands like BMW and Mercedes. For many shoppers, paying that much for a Volkswagen badge felt like a stretch, no matter how refined the product was. As the years went on, VW realized the American market wanted something different. Families were looking for larger, more affordable SUVs with 3-row seating, not premium 2-row options. This shift led to the introduction of the Atlas and the Tiguan, both designed specifically for U.S. tastes. In 2017, Volkswagen quietly pulled the Touareg from American showrooms. Globally, it lived on with newer generations, but here, its absence was sudden and noticeable. Enthusiasts lamented the loss, especially since the Touareg was one of VW's most technically impressive models. Its discontinuation highlights an important truth. Success isn't just about quality. It's about positioning. In the US, the Touareg was caught between luxury and mainstream, and without a clear place, it couldn't survive. For those who owned one, though, it remains a hidden gem of the VW lineup. Number 2. Cadillac SRX. The Cadillac SRX was one of the brand's biggest success stories in the 2000s. As a luxury crossover, it blended Cadillac's premium touches with the practicality of an SUV. By the mid-2000s, it had become Cadillac's best-selling model, proving that the company's shift toward crossovers was the right move. With sleek styling, a comfortable ride, and a spacious interior, the SRX appealed to both longtime Cadillac fans and new buyers entering the luxury market. Its popularity made it a cornerstone of Cadillac's lineup, so when it was discontinued in 2016, the news came as a surprise to many. The replacement, the XT5, carried forward much of what made the SRX successful. However, Cadillac's abrupt rebranding strategy, which introduced a new naming convention across its lineup, made the change feel sudden. To loyal owners, it seemed like the SRX was erased overnight, despite its proven track record. Cadillac's decision wasn't about poor sales, but about aligning with global trends and updating its identity. Still, for customers, it was a jarring shift. Many felt the XT5 was more of a rebrand than a true successor, which diluted the excitement. The SRX's story shows how even a bestseller can vanish when corporate strategy changes direction. Its legacy is one of success cut short, not by failure, but by reinvention. Today, the SRX remains fondly remembered as a vehicle that helped Cadillac transition into the modern luxury SUV era. Number 1. Honda Element. The Honda Element was never a typical SUV, and that's exactly what made it stand out. With its boxy design, clamshell doors, and wipe-clean interior, it was built for people who valued practicality and personality. Pet owners loved it for its space and easy-to-clean floors, while outdoor enthusiasts appreciated its versatility and gear-friendly layout. Launched in 2003, the Element quickly developed a loyal following. It wasn't flashy, but it had charm. Its interior was highly configurable, with seats that folded flat or could be removed entirely. Honda marketed it as a lifestyle vehicle, and for the niche audience it targeted, it hit the mark. But mainstream buyers weren't as enthusiastic. Sales peaked early, and then steadily declined, as families turned to more conventional crossovers with sleeker designs and better fuel economy. Despite its loyal fan base, the Element never reached the sales volumes Honda had hoped for. In 2011, Honda pulled the plug. The decision felt abrupt, especially as the SUV boom was gaining momentum. Many fans argued that the Element was simply ahead of its time. In today's market, where boxy, versatile SUVs are making a comeback, the Element might have fared far better. Its cancellation left a gap that Honda never truly filled. Enthusiasts still celebrate it as one of the most practical, no-nonsense vehicles Honda ever built. The Element's story proves that sometimes a car can be both a cult favorite and a market misfit at the same time. These 15 SUVs each tell a different story. Some were victims of poor sales, others casualties of corporate restructuring, and a few were simply too far ahead of their time. What they all share is the suddenness of their disappearance, leaving fans wondering what could have been if timing, marketing, or consumer tastes had played out differently. Now it's your turn. Which of these cancellations surprised you the most? And which one do you think deserves a comeback in today's market? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this deep dive into SUV history insightful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future explorations of the automotive world.